the pit line where the speed limiter would start. They can't push the car from any further out, so they can't give outside assistance from here.
Yeah, what a helpful lad Max Verstappen is then.
Good training. You'll have a bit of a sweat on in there.
Yeah, so it is at the moment 30 degrees outside, and you've got your race suit on and your helmet and your racing boots, which are not great for running in, and you have to push the car. And
the right choice, obviously, to tell them, to instruct them to let the car roll as long as it would.
Yeah.
And that's where, with the engine running all the way down there, that's what makes me think it's more a sensor issue, probably the throttle. You just lost drive, hadn't you?
So the sensor would just kick in.
Well, it's not a standard cable, is it? Your throttle pedal or something like that. It's a sensor, and it obviously is linked by something. But you can see.
Well, there we are. Two marshals now pushing along with Max Verstappen. Rachel Brooks is down in the pit lane for us, and I would imagine, Rachel, you can see the Red Bull coming into view now.
I can indeed, Crofty. It's entry at the top of the pit lane at the moment. Max, as you can see as well, helping them push it down here into the pit lane. And the mechanic's gone down to help as well and get the car back for them. I was down at Haas when it happened, so I've done a TED run down the pit lane for you.
So you're just as sweaty as Max Verstappen is at the moment then?
Pretty much. There's an image.
Good training. Ted Kravitz would never have complained about a little jog up the pit lane.
Oh, I know. I'm filling some very big shoes.
And Ted, we miss you and we wish you all the best as you watch the coverage back at home this weekend. And congratulations to you and to Kate on the birth of your latest daughter. Well done. We'll see you back in China. There is Rocky, head of race engineering at Red Bull, long-time race engineer, of course, for Sebastian Vettel, who, by the way, celebrates his 200th Grand Prix start this weekend. 200 Grand Prix starts, Paul di Resta, from the boy that you absolutely destroyed when you were teammates all those years ago in Euro Formula 3. Who'd have thought he'd have gone on to become a four-time world champion then?
It's quite a lot of races, isn't it, when you think 200, how many seasons you've done, but, you know, albeit very successful. The man you saw, Rocky, obviously is engineer, like you say. But, yeah, still battling for the championship, and obviously the current leader of the championship at the moment.
Rachel Brooks is trying to get a word with Max Verstappen. We'll hear that in a moment. Don't you fret. But she's smiling. I doubt he's smiling very much at the moment, because for a man who's had 2 DNFs out of 3 races here, this is not a great start to the weekend.
No, but it's a better time to do it than qualifying.
Well, yeah, that is very true. Rachel, if we can go down to you in the pit lane, what did Max Verstappen say?
Oh, he said he doesn't know. He actually didn't look too disappointed, Crofty. You know, I know he will be, but he underneath there wasn't too much of a frown and too much anger going on. He just said, I don't know what happened. And that was it. So it's very difficult through the helmet to decipher, but he didn't look too annoyed at the time. I know they've got a lot of work to do to work out and get him back out, or hopefully get him back out this session, but probably not today, I guess.
Thank you, Rachel. Christian Horner watching on there as they service Lewis Hamilton's car outside of the Mercedes garage, and everyone has been out for at least one installation lap, apart from Daniel Ricciardo. So maybe a few extra checks going on at Red Bull on his particular car after the incident involving Max Verstappen. Just looking now into the Red Bull garage, because I can see it here. It doesn't look like we're going to see Daniel Ricciardo coming out very, very swiftly either. So Esteban Ocon's done a time of a 1:35.6. That's the first lap time on the board for this particular session. Max Verstappen already having to push his car back into the garage. Early stages here in Bahrain on this Friday afternoon.
Performance and speed with the fastest laps to the finish line. F1 on Sky Sports, brought to you by DHL.
Because nighttime, because babysitter, because remember this, because places to be and be seen, because letting go, because our time, because hybrid, because sometimes the only reason you need is because. Toyota CHR.
We are connected to some of the most advanced technology the world has ever seen. We can choose from over 100,000 live sports events every year. Just like that. We are members of the world's favourite online sports betting company, and we gamble responsibly at Bet365.
What if you could book your flight, hotel, activities and car rental all in one place? Expedia are the travel experts who give you the world in your hands, so you can see more of it. Expedia, atoll protected.
We began to worry about our finances, especially with living costs going up all the time. We had thought about releasing money from our home, so we visited the Age Partnership website. We were delighted to find out any money we released would be tax-free. And more importantly, we'd continue to own our own home.
We use the money to pay off our existing mortgage. And since equity release is only repaid when we pass away or move into long-term care, we now have no monthly repayments, with even a little left over for our retirement.
If you are over 55 and own your own home, contact Age Partnership for a free brochure on 08080 555 888 or use our equity release calculator at agepartnership.co.uk.
You took it off to keep it dry. Set it down to entertain the kids. You were pottering about and it slipped your mind. It's been there ever since. So maybe it's time to move on. If your wrist feels a little lighter, sell or upgrade your luxury watch with pre-owned specialist Watchfinder. For a quick, competitive offer on your watch, visit watchfinder.co.uk.
Look at this world. This beautiful world. This world is alive. We can burn it to the ground, and from the ashes, build a new world. Our world.
You threaten my wife, my children. I don't like being ignored.
Dogs are not pets, okay? They're vicious beasts. That's Ali!
Max Verstappen in the garage, and Max Verstappen back in the garage after an issue concerning his power units and the turbo on his Renault power units, and exchanging in conversation with Dr. Helmut Marko and wanting to know exactly what went wrong. There will be a team of people at the back of the garage representing Renault, trying to work out just that as well. So let's go on board with Sergio Perez for Force India. Perez, who this weekend should get the new front wing and will be completing a few back-to-backs on the old front wing and the new front wing this weekend as Force India continue to sort out their new updated, upgraded package from testing and get a handle on the car. Perez said there's a lot we need to understand from this car that we just haven't had the track time yet to understand just what makes it tick.
It very much was the feeling, wasn't it? But I'm not quite so sure that car's quite as strong as they would have hoped coming into the new season. It looks a bit further away than what they thought. Upgrades come through. Force India obviously struggle to bring the upgrades the way the big teams do, just purely because of budget issues and resource exactly where they are. But they will be strong contenders at some point in the year, and obviously with the driver lineup being stable, they do a very good job bouncing off of each other.
Perez will have won 35-1 and is just a few hundredths of a second ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, who goes second fastest now, and Esteban Ocon, who is third fastest. And we can head down to Rachel Brooks.
Yeah, so Crofty, this session, as we know, it's the most unrepresentative of the weekend, so teams trying out all sorts of new bits. We're looking at Max's car at the moment. He's got the new Red Bull front wing on this weekend, and you saw, never look now, there are some big aero sensors that have been put onto the car. It's very difficult to swap those onto Daniel Ricciardo's car, so they're working hard to try and fix the problem here so they can get the aero information that they want from it. So it's not so important in terms of getting ready for the weekend for Max, but the team obviously wanted to try and find out if these parts work. and that's a pretty annoying situation to be in. So at the moment they're trying to get the car fixed so then they can get this data they were hoping to get off Max's car. While Max was being wheeled in, by the way, Crofty, Daniel Ricciardo was being sent out, but he couldn't get it into drive, and there was an issue on his car. They've done it now, obviously, because he's out on track, but it was a bit of a problem for them in the garage for a few moments here on the other side of it. So Red Bull working very hard this morning in the heat.
Yes. Say morning. It's 20 past 2 in the afternoon, but it feels like morning. We have the night race here in Bahrain, so we all have the luxury of a lie-in today, and it does feel like a first thing on a Friday morning. Lance Stroll in the Williams out on track. Lance Stroll, the man who finished for Williams last week in Australia, but was a long way off running in the points or finishing in the points. His teammate Sergei Sirotkin, I was talking to yesterday, Paul. He retired after 4 laps. He said that was disappointing. I said, but what was the thing that struck you most about your debut weekend? He said, time. Just didn't have time to do everything I wanted to do. He said nothing prepares you for the extra work you have to do as a Formula 1 driver compared to the junior series.
Yeah, and even when you go into the bigger teams, there's more marketing commitments and even that as well, and there's more demand on your time. That's the big thing of what Formula 1 drivers are. You know, they're very comfortable in the environment they are, and you know, they're able just to go out on track and react. Go in the meetings, but they're short, sharp, get your points across, and then very much trust the guys that are standing around the middle islands, predominantly in the garages. They're the techie guys that just feed you the information exactly what you need. And in the background, they're just covering everything else that they don't need to cover, and just makes you a bit quicker. Williams, they've got a big ask. You know, at the start of the year, they've got a lot of time to try and find to get to the midfield contenders, especially if you see the likes of Haas, how strong they were, and Renault. Yeah. And then you've got to put McLaren in that mix, who should probably be in front of those guys.
Eventually, yes, you would think so, because they've got the bigger resources and the more experienced staff, or more staff, or what?
Yeah, they've got more stability, haven't they, McLaren, over the course of what they've had. They've had the difficult times, obviously, with the Honda engine, but I think, like Eric was saying, their chassis development and where they are, they're going to be bringing updates, I think, quicker than other people, and I think they're probably easier to react to good bits on other cars than some of the teams around them, purely because their philosophy hasn't changed too much from last year. So I think they were kind of scoping out just getting the package right for the Renault, and then from there they'll really start to push things to the limit.
Watching Daniel Ricciardo, is that a puff of sand or a puff of smoke, I wonder, as he just went off the track a little bit? Probably a puff of sand, because in all honesty it is very, very dusty offline in the middle of the desert here. That's to be expected. But just one little back story to Sergei Sirotkin and his time management over the course of the Australian Grand Prix weekend. He said that on the Friday, the Saturday, he was the last person to leave the track. He was still at the track at about 1 o'clock in the morning, because he was still trying to go through everything he needed to learn for the race start and all the procedures for the next day as well. I'm sure after a while, Paul, will get used to it, but it might take a few races.
Yeah, you do get used to it, and that's what I'm saying. You know, you'll see some of the big guys, you know, drivers briefings normally an hour and a half after FP2. Some of the guys leave straight after that, the guys that are comfortable. You know, Kimi probably one of the guys first out.
The wind, which way? Wind is coming to the north, so basically we'll be headwind on the main straight and tailwind on the back straight.
Yeah, if you just looked up to the flag at the top of the tower now, on the right-hand side, you'll see that headwind.
Yeah, because he's got a lot of time to do that. You can hear, obviously, Kimi's got a new Italian engineer by the sounds of it, hasn't he? Obviously, Dave has been about the paddock. I think he's here for the first 2 or 3 Grand Prix to do the handover.
Yeah.
And then, but obviously, probably standing in the sidelines at the moment.
Dave is definitely here, Dave Greenwood, but Dave Greenwood, right at the end. There, he hasn't even got a place. He's got to squat down at the end now. He hasn't even got a proper place on that pit wall as he completes the handover before he heads off to join Manor for their World Endurance Championship campaign. Reunited with John Booth and Graham Loudon, his old bosses at Marussia, where he was director of engineering, chief engineer for many years. And here's Sebastian Vettel then, 200 race starts. Bit of confusion yesterday. He thought he'd celebrated his 200th Grand Prix, which technically he did in Australia, but as we pointed out, he came here to Bahrain a few years ago and he didn't make the start because his engine failed before he got the chance to take lights out. So it's 200 race starts for Sebastian Vettel, which means, Paul de Resta, this weekend he moves ahead of Alain Prost in the all-time list. I think he goes up to about 18th most experienced driver on the all-time list. But it's worth a little comparison with Alain Prost, as they both had 199 Grand Prix starts. So get this, Alain Prost 51 wins, Sebastian Vettel 48. Alain Prost 33 poles, Sebastian Vettel 50. Alain Prost 106 podiums, Sebastian Vettel with that podium in Australia 100. And they've both won 4 world titles each as well. We could have a long argument. We could have a long argument into the night as to who's the better driver, Sebastian Vettel or Alain Prost. Where would your allegiances lie on that one?
That is one of those things that you would love to do, Crofty, but at the same point, different era. You know, Alain Prost was a little bit, when I was growing up, he was kind of around, but probably before, he was a little bit out my age gap, so you'd probably be better placed to talk about it. And I think that's the perfect way of handing it back to you.
Yeah. Buck passed successfully. Well done on that one. I think they both have very different styles, but both are more than capable of winning championships, as discussed. And
be better placed to talk about it. And I think that's the perfect way of handing it back to you.
Yeah. they are behind the silver arrows, even though Mercedes think that on power terms alone, they're quite equal now.
Yeah, I guess they do. The Ferrari car looks more efficient, definitely in a straight line, what we're talking about at the beginning of the show. But I still get the feeling Mercedes and where their car is still a way up the road. And, you know, in a sense, I kind of never paid too much attention to the winter testing, but when I was getting the feeling up and down the paddock on the Thursday before everything started in Melbourne, people